Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Q&A show, Q&A podcast on Inside the Birds platform. I'm your main man, Jason Avant, with my main man, Quintin Mikell. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? Back at it. First of all, I gotta say, man, Jay, I love the look, man. You got the suit going, looking nice, man. You say you're making me feel a little underdressed in this piece, man.
I'm coming from an event, man. I'm coming from an event. That's
looking
it.
good though, brother. Looking good.
I appreciate it. I want to have a sweater on and a hat on. Like, hold on.
There you go.
Now. Here we go.
The throwback.
All right. So the Eagles go on the road to Arrowhead and lay the smackdown on Coach Reed. End up winning the game 21-17. Before we get into the breakdown, we want to say thank you to everyone that's tuning in to the Q&A show. We appreciate you. Make sure you email your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Again, email your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Follow Inside the Birds platform on YouTube, on Twitter, social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff. Make sure you're checking us out. We want to say thank you to Jeff and to Adam and Josh and everyone that's responsible for success, Greg and Clay, and everything that they're doing. Make sure you tune in to Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell and Clay Harbor. They break down in depth the plays and what they're seeing as well. So we're going to get right into this one. We're going to get right into this game. Q, did I miss anything?
No, that was good.
All right, so we're going to – the Super Bowl rematch, the Eagles end up winning the game 21-17. 10-point deficit they overcame. They were losing 17-7 at the break. The defense goes into beast mode, not allowing a point in the second half. A lot of storylines here. We know about the Kelsey brothers. We know about Coach Reed and the history. We know about the Super Bowl. Know about the bye week incredible record by Coach Reed. We know about Sirianni's incredible road record. There's a lot of storylines. The Eagles bested or outplayed the Chiefs later on in the stretch of the game. Let's get down to it. Defense, Q. Did the Eagles have a better second half game plan, or did the Chiefs just drop too many passes?
Yeah, I feel like we say this every week. I feel like, this Eagle defense, with whatever Sean Desai does at halftime, he's phenomenal at making halftime adjustments. And honestly, I feel like the only adjustment, like really that they made in my best guess, is that they were all challenged at halftime. Because when you look at the first half, a lot of the same schemes were still there. They were still running very similar defensive play calls.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it just looked like they were more aggressive. A lot of times when you play teams where they have great offensive players like Mahomes and Kelsey and, a great line, you got Pacheco running the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times as a defense, you come into that game like kind of expecting them to make big plays. Like you kind of come in a little tentative and you're like, okay, here it goes, it's going to start snowballing. And so sometimes all it takes for a defensive coordinator, especially at halftime, is to challenge these guys. Like, hey, listen, you guys get paid too. All right. You guys get off blocks. You guys, play aggressive. You guys play tight coverage. You guys, tackle well, get after it. Like these guys put their pants on the same way you do. And so I feel like that really was the only really big difference, was like the second half. This team came out with a purpose. This defense came out ready to fight. This team came out ready to hit and play aggressive and play downhill and get off blocks. And really, that was really the big difference from what I saw.
I agree with that to some extent. They did play more aggressive. And I think that they played more aggressive because they realized that the Chiefs couldn't execute their offense to their optimal ability because of the rain. And that's something that's real. Whenever you can get a team to throw the ball like Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 43 times in the rain, that's a good
crazy.
That's a good situation, right? So what Sean decided to do on first and second down, or whenever they had an opportunity to, based on the Chiefs personnel, if they had to go 5 defensive linemen, they did in the second half, and then they started bringing the safety down and leaving, playing more single high safety and putting the secondary in more aggressive positions than they're normally not in those positions, right? But they realized that the Chiefs receivers were struggling catching the ball, or they didn't feel they had no one to threaten them because of the rain, right? So I felt like it emboldened the Eagles to be a little bit more aggressive, like you said. But to couple that, they were able to stop the run. For an example, the Eagles gave up 130 yards of rushing or so, right around that in the first half. They ended up with 168 rushing yards total, right? So basically they limited them to 40 yards in the second half when it comes to the run game in comparison to the first half. And like I said, Patrick Mahomes, 43 attempts in the rain. That's a losing proposition for most teams. You can't do that. Jalen Hurts had 22 attempts. You live for the next down. The punt is not a bad situation. In the rain, you play the safe game. You don't play the aggressive game. Only if you're down. If you're down, you got to play the aggressive game. And when you play the aggressive game in the rain, you throw it far or you run it. You don't sit there and try to dink and dunk because it's hard to move the ball consistently. And the Chiefs found that out. It's hard to move the ball consistently and be methodical and get every first down in the rain. Guys are going to drop passes. Quarterback's going to miss throws. So that's the adjustment that he made. More people at the line of scrimmage, safeties, but also five defensive linemen to stop the run.
Nice. Never in a million years would I imagine a receiver saying throw the ball less.
And the rain is just tough. Everybody doesn't have rain hands.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, everyone doesn't have rain hands. Everyone doesn't have inclement weather hands. Like, people have good hands. They have good enough hands. Remember, hands are just like 40 times. Like, that's just like, there's some dudes that are just on the precipice of being out of the league based on how fast they run. Then there's some dudes that look like Tyreek Hill when it comes to their hands. That's just how it is. Like, it's greater than, it's lesser than. And if your hands are not superior hands, the rain will expose you. There are certain things you can get away with on a normal Sunday, but when the rain's there, you have to be efficient in your hand placement, also your mental, because you know how critical these things is. And if it's an errant throw, you're not comfortable catching hands, it's tough. And we're gonna get into that a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah. That's a part of the game plan too, knowing that when it's raining like that, defenses get a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah,
you can.
True.
What are they going to do? Throw it and drop it?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, so this will be a good time for me to throw this one to you. So after the game, Patrick Mahomes, he took responsibility for the pass that was dropped by Marquez. Marquez. How do you say it? One more time.
I think it's Marquez Valdez Scanlon.
Yeah. Can you explain what went down on that? Right. So from an offensive standpoint, for me, seeing it from the defensive standpoint, I know what I saw. What did you see from that on that play? Like, what could have been better or worse?
As far as, first of all, Patrick Mahomes saying that was BS. That's number one. You try to protect your guy as best you can, but the truth of the matter is that you can't hand the ball off better than he threw that ball in the rain than that. And that pass is not as hard as a pass that's coming straight at you like a bullet, like the one that Justin Watson dropped on fourth down. That was a third down. The one that he dropped on fourth down, no, that was second down. So the one that he dropped on fourth down, they didn't call that a drop actually. But the one that we would call it a drop on fourth down, that's a much tougher catch than MVS's catch, right? And there was some confusion in the secondary. That's what I saw, some confusion in the secondary. He ended up streaking down the middle of the field. Roby ended up chasing him, right? And had the ball right there. The one thing I will say is that for some reason, he let his feet die. So he's running. And when he puts his hand out, his feet stop. The ball was thrown right at the end of his hands. If you continue to run and not give up, you can basket catch that. Right? And because your feet is still going, if your concentration is right, as long as you're looking at the ball. So if the ball is coming, my concentration is right, and I keep my feet going. Even if I bobble the ball, I got multiple opportunities to catch it. But when your feet die and your hand and your eyes are not good, you don't have a second chance to catch it. That's how I know he wasn't in the right mental space to catch that ball. That wasn't a drop that had to do with that play. That drop had to do with all the other plays, because he dropped more passes before that, and the team was dropping passes. They didn't get credit for more drops. They had altogether about 10. I think they got credit for like 5. They had about 10 drops when you consider what the coaches are going to consider drops. The NFL is more lenient toward the receivers. So if something is like below your knees and is down by your ankles, the NFL views that as like an off-target throw. So they don't consider it a drop. Or if it's too high, it's an off-target throw. Receivers and DB coaches and evaluators, scouters, wide receiver coaches, we view drops from a more realistic. Can he get 2 hands on the ball? So when you consider what we deem as a catch, they dropped about 10 passes, right? Mm-hmm. Every drive in the second half, besides one, they had at least 1 drop.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and we're going to get into this as the show goes on. The Eagles figured out a game plan, and they were able to execute in critical moments. Like, you can't take away Bradley Roby's big play in the red zone. You can't take away Kevin Byard's big play in the red zone. All of those were astute heads-up plays, played the defense perfectly in order to bring down that win. Devontae Smith with a harder catch than Marquez Valdez-Scantling, right? Harder catch than him, end up making a catch. With somebody nearer to him, slowing down, having to wait in it, end up making the plays. The Eagles receivers made the plays. The third down before that, they made the plays, right? So I'm not going to say that the game was completely lost by the Chiefs, because the Eagles did what they needed to do, but the Chiefs had a big role in not executing as well.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. Let me add one more point to that with the so on that the Watson play, the 4th down. You know what the down and distance was for that?
4th and 25.
4th and 25. And this might be a couple years before you got there, but
4th and 26.
4th and 26. I went into historian mode trying to explain that to my son at that point. Like, you know about the legend of 4th and 26? He's like, no. And I told him about Freddie, and I was like, oh my God. And I think that route was very similar to the 4th and 26 route.
Just run, right? But Fred, they called double dig lock, and Fred just kept going because he had to get the 26 yards. Dig lock is at 14 yards. But he just ran it to 27. Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, can we not? I don't want this to happen to the Birds. I don't want them to get the new legend of 4th and 20. I guess it'd be 4th and 25, but
yeah.
So,
no. So yeah, On that play, he sit and waited on the ball. If he comes back to the ball, it's an easier catch. But again, it was raining out there, and they didn't have their mental together. They didn't have it. Yeah.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I got one for you. This one's for Q. How important was Bradley Roby's presence in Sean Desai's defense and ability to match up and dime?
Well, I think Bradley had a phenomenal game. Obviously, we talked about him punching the ball out. That was a critical play, and this defense really needed a big play at that time. But to me, I think the biggest effect he had on the game was his poise and his experience. I could see, watching all 22, like, he's recognizing formations. He's recognizing these bunch sets, which all these, teams seem to try to attack us with. And, a couple of plays the first half, they got a couple, but I noticed that anytime there was a bunch to his side, like he's lining the corners, he's lining the safeties up. He's making sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And then he's getting to his drop, and he's staying in his drop, and he's getting into his area, and he's taking away, those first wide open, easy reads to the flat or inside out. So I think his role was huge, and I think his presence is something that was definitely missed when he was injured for those few games. So having him back was huge, and I'm looking forward to him continuing to get healthy, continuing to kind of be that leadership role in the lower nickel dime area for those guys.
Yeah. I think that he's a common presence. I think he sees the game the right way. He made a play right at the beginning of the game on the third down. I think the first third down where they called a screen and he diagnosed it real quick. And that's just veteran play.
Yeah.
Also in zone, being able to match up because they do this 3 match in the red zone. A couple times they got beat with it, but I believe if you play it correctly, everyone should be fine. Yeah. One guy didn't get the memo. You got to know where number 3 is. Number 3 belongs to the free safety in that 3 match, right? There's no other place. There's no other person there. But anyhow, we'll get into that because we're going to talk about that right now. Actually, was the Chiefs targeting Justin Watson another like Andy Reid bye week wrinkle type thing, or what happened on the first touchdown of Watson? Why was he uncovered?
This play brings back painful memories of when I first played my first game against the Eagles when I was with the Rams, and y'all ran that play against us with Deshaun. He caught a touchdown on me. So I know all too well this play. It was pretty cool. I like the design. It basically was quads. You had, trips, offset back, and you had Kelsey lined up in the backfield. And all it is really it's just kind of a flood route with two overs, but everything's condensed because you're in the red zone, right? So basically, for what I saw, the way I look at it is that was
Bayer.
Who the middle safety was Reed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the way I've always learned to take it when there's 2 guys going over a top, right? The middle post player has to stay high, which I believe he did. And then the underneath guy the guy that's coming underneath the over route, or
the guy that's coming on the bottom.
Yeah, basically Watson on that. The more shallow over route. So there's one over route, and then there's one that comes underneath it. The underneath player on that side has got to get some depth and be underneath that, correct? So to me, I don't know. To me, it's a very good scheme. It's very difficult to diagnose that with everyone running so fast with that tight of the field. With you basically on the 10-yard line in the end zone. So it's a good play. It's a tough play to stop, but I think it's the underneath guy on the other side. And I honestly don't even know.
Yeah, no, that was Bayer.
Was it Bayer on that side?
Yeah, I think it was Bayer. Everyone else had like a match, type of a match coverage, and the guy went across his face and he didn't adjust to it. He was the only one that didn't adjust and it didn't go across because he was getting depth. So I believe that he had to run with him in that position on the right side. So that's what I believe occurred and happened on that. But it was a tough play to diagnose. But he was the only person that was free on that play.
I know who wasn't free was Kelsey. He had 2 linebackers.
He had 2 linebackers on him. They bracketed him, yeah.
It was bracketing him. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That play. I don't like that play.
Yeah. So and then the other play that they got was the Travis Kelsey touchdown play, which is a pick. It's a pick route. You know what? It gets me frustrated, right? I'm a receiver. I don't supposed to complain about a pick route. But let me tell you why I'm gonna complain about a pick route. Because the Eagles have tried to run a pick play for like the last 3 years. And we've gotten called every single time.
Yep.
Every time we call a pick play, the Eagles get called for a pick.
Yep.
And they run a pick play, and for some reason, it doesn't get called. Even the official that was was brought in by the broadcast crew said it was a pass interference. It should have been called pass interference. Now, what can emphasize the pass interference is Byard. Byard, don't avoid people. If you see a receiver right there, run right into him. Because then you can force the official to make and see the contact. If there's a guy right there and you know that it's a pick play, run right into him. Make the referee call it. That's how you do it, right? The same way with a pass interference. If a guy's holding you at receiver, you don't just like let him hold you. No, you fight harder so the referee can see how bad the holding is. And that's the only thing I'll say about that play is that Byard has to run through the pick and make it very, very obvious. But it still was a pick.
It was absolutely a pick. The thing that frustrates me, I'm trying not to look at it from a player's perspective or maybe a coach, but like one of the most basic things that we always learn in man coverage is what? If you're in man coverage and you got two guys close together, what do you
one of y'all got to be off. You got to be in different levels.
You got to be different levels, and time again, it keeps happening.
They're on the same level.
And they're on the same level. Now, I will say this: I think it's a little. I think what the Chiefs did was really, really cool. There is that normally when you see that look as a defensive back, you're going to see two guys standing up in receiver stances. Mm-hmm. In this instance, they had Kelce in the 2-point stance, like he was going to block. Right. Yeah. So it didn't kind of register, that's what they're trying to do. But even still, man, when you see any type of two guys, tight together and I'm talking to my corner because I don't want to bump him off either. Right. So we got to get on different levels. And it's like it's disheartening that it keeps happening over and over.
It does.
And it's going to keep happening until they stop it. We say that. I feel like we say this every week. Teams are going to keep running these bunch sets, these rub routes until we stop it.
Yeah, and to make you communicate, and that's what it's for. You press the point, and the other guy's on a different level, so he can react, and that's it. That's definitely true. Yeah. Oh, there was. Hold on, wait a minute. Before we get over there to defense, so Kevin Byard's pick was a huge play. Now, so I want to get you guys like. Just imagine that the Chiefs are empty. The Chiefs has 3 receivers up to the top. They have 2 down at the bottom. They're empty. They have 5 targets right out there. They're playing what I call a cover 3 match coverage. That means the number 2 receivers are being locked vertical by the flat carry defender, right? They're going to, so if that guy goes vertical, the 2 slot corners are going to lock those guys, right? That's what's going to happen. The outside guys are playing cover 3 as is. The underneath guys are just passing off like they would in normal cover 3. The only person that has a responsibility in that is the free safety. The free safety has to know if 3 goes vertical, either across the field, vertical straight ahead, and or corner, you got them basically until you can pass off to the outside corner. Right. So he sees that and recognizes that Justin Watson is the one that's coming across the field and reads Mahomes' eyes and plays it perfectly. But the way that what I love is his alignment. Normally you would line up on a quarterback. No, he's cheating to the opposite side. So Mahomes think that he has the throw, not knowing that he's actually the one that's going to be covering it across the field. So I thought it was a great scheme in that situation. And everybody's like, oh, Mahomes could have threw it over further. No, he really couldn't because Slay is over there.
Yep.
He had to throw it in that spot because there was a corner to that side.
Yeah. Great point. That was a great play, man.
It was. Those 2 plays, and I'll say the punching the ball out, people say it's happenstance. No. They corralled him. There was nowhere else to go. When you know that an offensive player has no other solution but to either get down or you're about to get the tackle, that's when you can be aggressive toward the ball, right? But they did a good job of rallying to the ball. They had him corralled. There was nowhere else he can go. And the first person in is like, I'm going for the ball because even if I miss the tackle, I got 2 other dudes right here. And it was just aggressive veteran play. that turned out being big. There was multiple times where the Chiefs had the ball in the Eagles' territory to start in that game, right? I want to say 3 out of the 6 first drives, they were in the Eagles' territory to start. And there was multiple times the Eagles ended up turning the ball over, making them punt, kicking the field goal, something like that, right? And toward the end of the game, the same thing. They were getting the ball in the Eagles' territory, but the Eagles held up when it mattered the most. And that's where the Eagles won the game and not necessarily was gifted the game.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, and I went back and looked at that play that you're talking about, that we were talking about earlier. You were right. So the way I look at it, though, Watts, for me, is a safety. The way I'm looking at it, if I'm the middle safety, if I'm Reed right there and Watson's coming across, on the backside, there's only one receiver. So Watson was a single receiver. So on the backside, Slay's not used up, and neither is Byard. So both of those two players should have sank underneath the overall from the strong side. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's Reed's fault. But I understand what you're saying about the match 3 too. So
Yeah.
we learned that Jim Johnson's defense was a little bit different than this one.
Yeah.
A little bit.
What was I gonna say? There's a few other plays and I just have to say this: the Chiefs receivers should be embarrassed. I'm never so hard on receivers because I understand the pressure that comes with the position. Everyone thinks it's easy. It's really not. It's really hard. But you gotta put the time in to understand your craft and understand elements, understand how to play the game. When it's raining, you normally catch the ball like this. There's usually space in between your hands. When it's raining, your thumbs come together and you make this window here smaller, right? Because the ball is going to come through. And the next thing you do is you tighten your hands. The only way you can do that is through your forearms. You tighten your hands and your forearms, and you don't worry about yards at the catch. The only thing that you're worrying about is just catching the football. And if you can body the ball, when I mean body the ball, I'm not talking about touching my body first, meaning that my hands are tighter to my body just in case I catch the ball with my hands, but it may slide through. My body's there as a backstop, but I can't let it hit my body first. But my hands are tighter to my body. If I get a chance to body it, I will. But if it's off target, away from my body, I have to be aggressive, hands strong, tight together. And that's the only thing I'm thinking about is catching the football, right? And not yards at the catch, not nothing else but that. And those are like little small tips that I understand that nobody on your team is good at catching in the rain, not one person. But Kelsey, out of all the pro receivers, that's just tough. You know what I mean? It's tough.
That's tough.
It's tough. And I know Coach Reed always has a player like me, a player like Antonio Freeman, a player that's just reliable. He normally has that. But this generation of receivers, I don't necessarily know if a player like me is allowed to play anymore because we're not the fastest. So now you got bunch of these dudes. All those dudes can run. Sky Moore can run. Yeah. Justin Watson can run. Rashee Rice can run. Valdez Scantling can run. You got to be able to catch.
Yeah.
So I don't care how fast they can run. And in those critical games, a reliable player is going to win you the game. And that's where you need a reliable player is in critical situations. Everybody going to be good when it's sunny and raining. So, and he normally has that. Now I'm wondering why the change. Yeah.
Especially when you got a quarterback as special as Mahomes is, man. Like,
yeah.
I bet you Garrett Wilson, he like, I'll catch that.
I'll catch it. The other thing is this, is that Mahomes, and you can say whatever you want, the receiver dropped the ball. Mahomes missed so many reads in that game. So many reads in that game. If you guys go back and look at the tape, so many reads. Like there was one that he threw to Justin Watson over the middle, and he ended up getting hit, and he had alligator arms toward the end of the game. But Travis Kelce is the read in that play because he was bracketed. Number 3 was bracketed. Travis Kelce's on the opposite side running the out route versus safety.
Yeah, I know.
And that was the read. That was absolutely the read. There's another time on a 3rd down, he throws the ball to Justin Evans again on a fade ball, and Travis Kelce is being double teamed, and he's the number 1 read in the option, and both the double teamers played inside of him, and he ran the out route and was wide open. The wrong read, and I'm that's not 2 plays. I'm talking about 5 or 6 plays where he was just on the wrong person.
Mm.
They had the first down on a lot of those 3 and outs they were going on, or drive killer. He had an easier throw right there in front of him, but didn't take it.
So you think he's pressing a little bit?
What's that?
You think he's pressing a little bit, like he's trying to make the spectacular player?
No, I don't think it's more I don't think that it's spectacular. I just think that he's frustrated.
Okay.
I don't think that he's looking at all the guys equally saying, you know what? I just need to throw the ball to the person that's open. Like, I think that he is kind of making up his mind where he wants to go with the ball rather than like that. You can pre-snap read and say, okay, the chance that this is going high, but if the defense changes, you got to be able to adjust. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's times that I just don't understand what he's looking at. Mm. So, and tell you the truth, Jalen Hurts played a safer game, the right game in order to win, and we're about to get into that.
All right, let's do it.
Hold on, before we get into that, let's make sure that we tell you again about Inside the Tape with our main man, Greg Cosell, Clay Harbor. Greg Cosell, Clay Harbor, wisdom and muscles. You got it together, all of the package right there, the whole thing. You want to get your wisdom on, you want to get your muscles on, you know, get your brain stimulated. Eye candy right there. Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell and Clay Harbor.
Hey, it's Jeff Mosher. I love the fall because football's back, but it's also my busiest season. Between work, kids going back to school, youth sports and activities, there's just not enough time, especially to make a good home-cooked meal. That's why I love HelloFresh. They deliver farm-fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes right to my doorstep. No more wasting time at the grocery store because America's #1 meal kit helps make home cooking easy, efficient, and affordable. We don't waste time researching new recipes and planning meals. With HelloFresh, the shopping's already done. The perfect amount of ingredients arrive with step-by-step recipe cards. How efficient is that? Plus, HelloFresh saves you time and money. HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout, so you'll get a home-cooked meal without digging deep into your wallet. Don't forget about taste and selection. HelloFresh makes food for meat lovers, seafood lovers, vegetarians, and those who love variety. My personal favorites are the spicy Creole stew and pecan-crusted trout, 2 dinners my whole family enjoyed, and we actually had time to sit down together and eat at the table. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Eagles. Use that code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. Act now for America's #1 meal kit.
All right, let me shoot this one. All right, so Jason, break down the big play that hurts to Devontae Smith on that 41-yard bomb for the go-ahead touchdown. Break that down for me.
All right, so they were in. They put Devontae and AJ to the same side, so they got like a twin set. They were opposite of the tight end. Devontae's on the ball, AJ's outside off the ball. And they have basically an inside fade concept. We used to call this concept smash back in the day. And smash was a corner and a hitch. Mm-hmm. And and I'll give you guys history of this play. And around 2014, teams, when they would get man coverage, instead of running a corner, they were running inside fade and just chain the turn up. Yeah, a big box fade, what we call, right? Where the guy would run like this big box outside, but he would get to the corners that, like, if a guy was running a corner out, that same position, it was easier to get the ball up rather than waiting on the guy to run up the field and stick going out, right? So we just started running the big box fade and calling it a different concept. But it's basically smash concept, which is a corner out and a hitch, but that inside guy runs a fade. Now,
yeah.
Huh?
I was gonna say that's one of the hardest routes to cover for an inside guy.
It is.
He fades. Yeah.
He fades away from everything, right? So now here's the mistake that everybody makes. When this route is called, they run to the pylon. They run the big box fade. Here's the problem with it. If the guy is off and you run the line, there's an intersection point, right? So if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
if
I know.
The guy just runs, he runs around and you're off, the guys are going to beat you there. Yep. Devontae Smith ran it like a veteran. You run at the defender. You don't give away the route. You don't tell him your hand. You run right at the defender. First of all, it was Mike Edwards. That's a safety guard in Devontae Smith. That was a bad decision. He runs right at him and doesn't declare his route until he gets on his toes, and then he runs to his spot. A lot of young players, a lot of young receivers just run the line. They'll just start running out toward the pylon. That guy's like, okay, you let me know what the route is. I can sit there and be the receiver now. So Devontae Smith steps on his toes, doesn't run the big box fade like it's drawn up, but runs like a go route and then turns into a box fade down the field and catches a critical ball. And he can't run with them. The safety is not going to be able to run with Devontae Smith. So it was a questionable call and decision. But I tell you what, that was checked. That was checked. That was an adjustment. That's a concept. That was a sight adjust. That Jalen Hurts, he saw there was going to be a blitz off that side. They blitzed not the Mike linebacker, but the backer. They blitzed the backer. He knew he was going to be one-on-one with the safety, and he took him, gave him the blues. That was the play. Gave him the blues. It was a great call by Jalen Hurts. Great secure catch by Devontae Smith. But the play before that was even bigger. The play before that was a 3rd and 5. Devontae Smith ended up catching like a 12, 15-yard gain over the middle on a dig ball that he had to go up and get. So he came to play. Devontae's like, range, main, whatever it is, I'm about the ball. So it didn't affect him.
That's awesome, man.
It's
a great analysis on that play too, man. That's good stuff. I didn't even notice that.
You know what? I kind of had this little picture earlier.
Let's see that.
That's funny. I had that like little picture, and this little messed up line over here is like him running a bad route, and this is like the other line is what Devontae had, and that's a terrible drawing, but yeah. If you guys can visualize, I wish I could have put it on the screen, but this guy's running out. Devontae just runs straight at the guy and then declares what he's doing later than normal, and that's basically how it went.
We gotta talk to Jeff, man. They gotta get us some like drawing boards where we could how to do the Monday Night Football stuff, man. Come on, Jeff.
There you go. We need a budget. We need a $50,000 budget for some equipment. Jeff, man, you'll get your. All right.
Oh man. All right. This one's.
Oh, this is for you. Yeah. So Q, were the Chiefs baiting Hurts into keepers up the middle? They stopped a few until Hurts ran for a touchdown.
So I'm gonna kind of highlight a few things that I think that the Chiefs defense did really well against this offense. Spagnuolo's a very, very intelligent, very experienced defensive coordinator. I played in this defense, and I know the weak spots of this defense. Before we get into what I saw, I know for a fact from experience and from seeing it many, many years that one of the biggest difficulties in this defense to stop is a quarterback that can run, a quarterback that can just evade your pressures just long enough to find the open man. Because when you send pressure, there's always going to be someone open at some point. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, so some of the things that the Chiefs did, especially early, the safeties, every time they moved, there was post snap. They either showed single high and moved to cover 2, or they showed 2 high and moved to cover 1 or cover 3. They showed like they're backing off, and then they brought pressure. They showed a 5-man front, and then they dropped to a 4-man front with a cover 2 behind it. They showed a 4-man front and moved down to a 5-man front. So I think that they had a good game plan to try to confuse Jalen, make him think he's seeing one thing, and then making him read everything post snap. So that's what, in my mind, when I went back and looked at the tape, that's why, when you watch a TV copy, you can't really always see what's going on. But Jalen looked a little bit confused at times, and he looked like he was unsure of what he was seeing. And then I went back to the all 22. I'm like, okay, this is why he's seeing everything post snap. So they did a good job of that. So going back to what we were talking about with the running quarterback stuff. So I think both coordinators, I think Brian Johnson and I think Spags knows that the weakness of the defense is a running quarterback. And I think it was a little bit of a cat and mouse game where I think that the Eagles, especially early when they were getting caught with some pressures, I think Brian Johnson kind of got in this cat and mouse game of trying to predict when he's going to catch him in a pressure and then send a quarterback draw. Now, he did get it right the one time when they scored the touchdown. He called a perfect call. It was like a great call, but it wasn't always right. And he got caught in some bad situations a couple of times. So
yeah,
I think, my analysis, I think that both coordinators did a pretty good job early. I think that Brian Johnson would probably want a couple of those calls back, especially after the turnover and what was that, the third quarter when we got the
pick?
punched the ball out. Was it the pick? The punch out came second, right?
The punch out.
And then we got the ball and we ran like 2 or 3 screens in a row. One of them almost got picked. Another one almost got like picked right after. Wasn't that the one when
the one
AJ was trying to block for Devontae and almost got his knee blown out?
Oh my gosh.
That was right after the pick, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So like those calls, I think he'd like to have back, because I think again he was trying to catch them in some type of pressure and get the ball out fast, and it kind of backfired. So, I think that basically that was my whole viewpoint of it. I think it was kind of a cat and mouse thing when it came to that, and I think that they caught him a few times. I think it was kind of a back and forth deal. At the end of the day, like you said earlier, we did enough to win the game. Did enough. He didn't make enough. They didn't make enough mistakes to hurt the game, and you just move on.
Yeah, on the AJ Brown interception, the one that Snead intercepted, the one that he almost ripped the ball out of his hands, which was a great effort and great thought, right, by AJ Brown. They went all out pressure on that. They went all out pressure on that particular play. You know what I'm talking about? The one that Snead picked off.
Yeah.
Right. So they went, I won't say all out pressure, but they had a blitz, and AJ did a legal mailbox, what we call, when you beat a guy off the line of scrimmage really, really badly, you abandon your route and the quarterback is supposed to throw it down the field. The only problem with that is that does not apply when there's a heavy blitz. You have to stay on schedule because the quarterback can't always see you, right? When it's a heavy blitz, you have to stay with the route that's called rather than doing a legal mailbox. If it's a normal situation where there's no pressure and you doesn't feel pressure as a receiver, you could put your hand up because the quarterback has enough time to see, right? But when he's being pressured, he's throwing to a spot. And when you have an all-out pressure like that, he's throwing to a spot. So you can't abandon your route in that situation. So that pick was 100% on AJ Brown.
Can I add something to that, though?
Go ahead.
This is I was going to say this point too. The other thing that I thought that the Chiefs did really well, if you go back and you watch that play, it's a man coverage. Now, there was a motion from, I think it was from trips to 2x2. And normally when a receiver or a skill position is going across, the safety comes down. In this defense, the safety comes down, and he's playing man. So you kind of show your hand a little bit. Hey, that's man. What they did, what the Chiefs did, was they put the safety on the back, releasing to the flat, so it looked like zone. So it looked like a zone. So the safety actually came down, and he was man to man on that back, but it actually was man. So it was kind of. I can see what AJ was thinking. He probably was reading man, and just like you said, he probably thought he had to go. Whereas pre-snap, it looked like a zone because the linebackers didn't move over. The linebackers stayed in the box, and then the safety came down really late. So Hurts probably was thinking it was zone, and AJ probably was thinking it's man. And I thought that's what I was thinking on that play, and I thought that was a great adjustment by Spagnuolo. But
by Spagnuolo for another thing too, we couldn't answer Trent McDuffie had 2 sacks on us, multiple quarterback hits. Chris Jones was giving everybody up front the blues. 5 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 sacks. He was giving everybody the blues. Him and McDuffie were giving. I was like, this little dude is quick and he can blitz and he tough. Like, that's a good nickel.
Oh yeah,
McDuffie's a good nickel, and I was like, he's a throwback nickel too.
Yeah,
he want to get in there. I'm like, yeah,
Winfield type.
Yeah, he wanting that. Yeah, I don't know if he's that strong, but yeah, Winfield was strong.
Type. I ain't say
his little joker was strong. But yeah, I don't know if he's that strong or not, but he want to be in the mix, and so those are some things that they had going for them. And here's the other thing about the Eagles offense. Asset one screen, the classic Coach Reed call. We always call it screen at one. It's a middle screen. You act like you run it. You act like you run to the flat. The running back comes back toward the middle. The lineman in the middle release, and you go up the middle. And it's like perfect for a really aggressive interior defensive line. And when they start bringing that nickel off the edge, they hit them with it twice. They hit him with it 3 times. Twice it worked for big yardage, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just so it was so nostalgic for me, and it was so funny that his play was being run on him because he created that play. SN1 is a Coach Reed staple. The screen at the one hole. That's a staple. Like, we call that, and when the teams are aggressive at blitzing, especially and the interior guys like rushing gaps, we call that play because it's hard for them to recognize it, right? Yeah. So to see it run on him to perfection twice was like,
that was beautiful.
Oh man, it was funny. It was funny.
Can you talk to me? I don't. It's one more thing. Because I want to know, because I thought this was awesome. It was a huge play for me. Can you talk about the pony, when they went pony and they ran the jet sweep? I loved seeing it with Swift.
Oh, with Swift
on the jet sweep.
Yeah, on the jet sweep. Yeah. So, but it was the only way you can run that play effectively if you got linemen that can pull. And on that particular play, they ended up getting Mailata out, and they ended up getting Kelsey out on the edge to kind of lead the way for Swift. But it's a great changeup. It's a great changeup because he is a home run hitter, and we normally run the ball inside because we got the maulers inside. Our best linemen, our best road graders are inside. So a good changeup to the outside is pulling Mailata. He goes and takes the nickel. The defender out there or the cornerback, and then Jason Kelsey goes up and smacks somebody else, right? So it was a great play, and I think that we need to see more misdirection because you and I talked about that before. Is that misdirection is one of those things that kind of levels the playing field, especially for aggressive play caller like Spagnuolo, right? Because it makes the guy on the backside be honest, stay at home, the safeties. Make you think about certain things. You need misdirection, and jet sweep is definitely a nice change up misdirection.
Nice,
yeah.
The analysis, man. Yeah, I love that play. Yeah. It was huge. All right. How did the? I guess this is the last one.
We got the last one.
How did the O-line perform? What did you see from the offense to compensate for Dallas Goedert's absence?
Nah, the O-line got whooped.
Think so?
I think the O-line got whooped.
Okay.
I'm not. Hold on. Let me think about this. When you give up 5 sacks and basically the first half, they did get better in the second half.
Yeah.
But
I think it was more a product of
Chris
confusion.
Jones was giving us
yeah. That's a man child out there, man.
The reason I say that is because I felt like Jalen Hurts felt like he didn't have time to get AJ Brown the ball. He didn't have time to read things out. He really didn't. Like, he was moving most of the game. Like, so I don't think that they created a comfortable environment for Jalen Hurts at all for that entire game. And that's why I say I believe that they got whooped, is because I don't believe that Jalen Hurts felt comfortable delivering the ball most of the day because he was moving around most of the day.
I got you.
All right. Now, the run game was successful. We averaged 4.2 yards a carry, but it was still successful in the rain, despite everything that they were going through. But like I said, the Chiefs' defense line second in the league in sacks. And Dana and Karlaftis and Chris Jones and those guys are pretty good. But I thought that our O-line has a lot better football ahead of them.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm glad that Dallas targets went to the run game, like we talked about last week. Got to give it over to the run game. If he's gonna get hurt, got to get over to the run game. So that's pretty much the game. I believe that the Eagles played the smartest game under the conditions. They were more cautious. They chose their time to strike when the team made mistakes, right? They caught them in a blitz for Jalen Hurts scramble touchdown, not scramble, but quarterback design run touchdown. Devontae Smith touchdown. They caught him. Great play design on the jet sweep and middle screens. They played more cautious football, but it was like the right amount because you can't throw the ball in the rain 43 times. You're going to have drops. You're going to have errant throws. You're not going to have, the right formula to win. So I think the Eagles played the smartest game. Did the Chiefs assist them? Yeah, 100%. The receivers catch half of the balls they drop. It's a totally different game.
Yeah.
So I don't think so I like it, Q. The reason I say it is because I like it because the Eagles are winning despite not playing the best. And that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We say it every year. I mean, at the end of the day, they're 9-1. Every now and then, you're gonna have some games where just everything just kind of falls your way. Receiver drop a ball, a guy fumbles that don't normally fumble, this or that happens. And before you know it, you're in the Super Bowl. So I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We're still in the middle of this tough stretch right here. But to go in the Arrowhead, which, as you know, is one of the hardest, most difficult places to play any game. To go in the Arrowhead and get a win, steal one, it's huge. It's huge. And sometimes it's good to be lucky. So we'll take it.
Yeah. And I'm glad the game happened the way that it is. Even if they play each other in Super Bowl, I think it'll be a totally different game under a different atmosphere and regular conditions. But I think it's good enough to see Spagnuolo's defense again, so you can have an idea of how they're trying to attack you. I think the Chiefs showed more than we did. In general, I thought their defensive package showed way more stuff, and then the offensive package, because there's 43 plays run, it just passes, and then with their new wrinkles in the run game, I think the Chiefs show way more offensively and defensively than we did offensively and defensively, which bodes well for us going into the next game. Half our offense couldn't even be running that game. So I just think that we did the bare minimum and was still able to win. And that's, like I said, we keep saying it. It's a great sign. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in into the Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform. Remember, email your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's go Eagles against the Bills this upcoming week. Q, you got the last word.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's that time of year, man. It's starting to get cold. Got Thanksgiving coming up. Got turkey. We're gonna get the itis after Thanksgiving, watching some football. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
Oh, and go blue. Beat that team, baby. See you next week.
Hey, don't be over there recording stuff, man. Recording signals and stuff.
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll steal all your signals.